Okay, I've got an intersection, or I've got a corridor model built here, and I have split some regions and turned those regions off where they would have overlapped in this intersection. And that's important because as we build an intersection, we don't want any overlap in our corridor model. And you can see I can actually grab these grip edits and drag them even a little bit further away from the intersection. So I'm just going to snap them to some of these corridor lines. I'm going to drag them back to the next major corridor or minor corridor line, just to make sure I'm giving myself enough room for this intersection. That may be enough. We'll find out as we go. But a nice thing about having this turned off is I can also see where these alignments are for the location of my new intersection. So I want to make sure I don't have anything selected, and then on the Home tab of the ribbon, I'm going to find the Intersections drop down, and I'm going to create intersection. And my cursor asks me to select intersection point, so I can snap right to the intersection of two alignments. And then it asks to select the main road alignment. So which of these two alignments is going to be my primary road? I'm going to select my east-west road there, and that'll bring up this dialog window where I can input a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to start with an intersection name, something that makes sense to me, like the names of the two intersecting alignments, for example. And then I would try to do all crowns maintained here for the corridor type, but I have had a bunch of trouble with freezing at the end when I select all crowns maintained. So I'm going to leave primary road crown maintained. You can see what that means here. The intersecting road is going to have to yield to our primary road. So I'm going to hit next. I'm going to cycle through some options here. Again, on this geometry tab, I can see those two intersecting alignments and their priority. And then I can check some of the parameters that are automatically set. So offset parameters, for example, if I have a 12-foot lane, I probably want to have a 12-foot offset value, so I'm going to leave all those alone. The curb return parameters, though, I do need to change that. I know that in the city of Blaine, I need 20-foot curb returns and 20-foot radius on my curb returns. So here I'm going to change this radius to 20 feet. And this is for a quadrant of the intersection. So I need to do that 4 times. So I'm going to hit next and change all of these to 20 feet. And I am not going to add a widening at any of those quadrants, at least not for now. So I'll hit OK. And then I'm also going to change my lane slope parameters. I know I need a 3% cross slope instead of 2%, so I'll change all of these to 3%, and I should do that 4 times. So let me zoom all the way to the bottom here to 3%, and then OK. And I'm going to hit next again. And important here, I do want to create corridor in the intersection area, but I want to add that to an existing corridor. So I'm going to hit this radio button here for add to an existing corridor. I should only have one corridor in my drawing. That's the Blaine corridor is what I have named it. You should also make sure you're sampling the right surface. I only have one surface in my drawing, but you may have many, so make sure you're selecting the correct surface. And then I'm not going to change anything else down here. This is the location, the path that the computer will use to find a bunch of assemblies to import into the drawing. So I don't want to change any of that. So I should at this point be ready to hit create intersection. And you will likely have some errors pop up, and hopefully you don't freeze. So hopefully you have saved before you started creating this intersection. And fingers crossed, here we go, create intersection. So here I'm going to get a whole bunch of errors, and then this window is asking me, what do I want to do with these profiles? I've got some conflicting elevation data. I'm going to continue for now to use these profiles, and hopefully, here we go, it's going to work. So here is my intersection. You can see that popped into the drawing behind this window. I need to hit the green check mark to close the event viewer, and now I can see I've got an intersection built into my corridor. And because this is all part of the same corridor model, when I select any part of that corridor, the entire thing lights up. And I'm going to want to make sure that I don't have any gaps in my corridor. So I can use these grip edits to drag corridor regions, or you could go into the corridor parameters, the corridor properties, and the parameters tab to manually change some of these regions by station. I can drag the intersection to meet my my other corridor region, although it looks like that gave me some errors. It didn't like when I did that, so maybe I want to drag my corridor to match my intersection, and I just want to zoom in to make sure I'm hitting these in the right spots. So again, I want to make sure I don't have any gaps in my corridor. So there I've got my corridor all tied up together, and there are some obvious maybe discrepancies, or there's some obvious problems with this intersection. For example, the sidewalk is just going to abruptly end right here. The curb and gutter that I am using in the street as called for by the City of Blaine, that is not going to match up. So there's some problems with getting my assemblies to match through this intersection, which I should be able to change in the intersection properties. That takes a little bit more digging, but I could also, now that I know how an intersection is built with these quadrants, I could try to build my own intersection. So I would have to create a couple of alignments for my curb returns. I'd have to build a few more assemblies, and then do a whole bunch of targeting, so splitting regions and then doing some special targeting. It is possible and probably better to build an intersection by hand, but we're going to play a little bit more with this intersection tool to see if we can't get it to behave the way we want it to.